Also, you guys, please excuse my greasy face. I just did my skincare routine, and my oil just hasn't set in yet. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, I have my notes per usual, and today the story is of Christine falling or falling. I'm not sure, but it's one of those. It's spelled Falling, like falling, but it might be falling. And trigger warning, because this is another serial child murderer. Is that right? Like a serial killer, but targeting children. Yeah. So, let's get into this video. So, Christine Falling was born in Perry, Florida on March 12th, 1963. She came from a poor family, and I think her family dynamic was quite interesting because at the time she was born, her mother was 16 years old and her father was 65 years old. Literally, her father was old enough to be her mother's grandfather, which, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but being an underage girl and dating a man that old, it usually doesn't turn out for the best. It was said that when Christine was growing up, she was obese. A lot of people described her as dull-witted, basically meaning like she's not the brightest crayon in the box. And she was known to have epileptic seizures. As a kid, she was known to drop cats from tall heights as a way to test their 9 lives. She also strangled cats as a sign of showing affection. So we can see, even as a young kid, there's something going on mentally with her that is not conducive to what you would normally see in a young child. And strangling as a sign of affection is crazy to me. That leads me to believe that she lived in an abusive household, because where else would she learn to associate those two things, like violence associated with affection? So let's start to get into it. On September of 1977, Christine was 14 years old, and she married a man in his 20s. Once again, very, very young girl marrying a guy older than her. Not as extreme as her mother, but it's still the same type of pattern. This marriage only lasted 6 weeks due to their violent fights, and after the breakup, she became a hypochondriac, so she would always think that something is wrong with her, or she was dying, or something like that. She would go to the hospital and claim that she had red spots all over her body, or vaginal bleeding when she wasn't supposed to be on her menstrual, or snake bites, which is crazy to me. But these things were really wrong with her, even though they weren't. So in her mind, she could not have been faking it. But if she was like pulling this hypochondriac card, then maybe she was faking it for attention or something. I'm not sure. But so later on in her life, like a few years or whatever, Christine started babysitting for work. So on February 25th, she was watching 2-year-old Cassidy Johnson. I'm sorry, y'all, my nose just confused me. But 2-year-old Cassidy Johnson was in her care. But later in the night, Cassidy Johnson was taken to the doctor and diagnosed with encephalitis, which is basically inflammation of the brain. On February 28th, Johnson was pronounced dead, and the autopsy states that the cause of death was blunt trauma to the skull. Next page. So, clearly Christine was questioned during this time, but she stated that the baby passed out and fell from her crib, which is crazy. The physician at the time did not believe this at all, and the person wrote a note to the police telling them that they needed to further investigate what was going on with the death of this child, but somehow the note got lost, and thus the case was closed. I got a lot of my information from Murderpedia, but I also was looking other places. I was trying to figure out, like, how did the note get lost? Like, you know, did the note really get lost? Or, like, did somebody sabotage the note, such as Christine? Or, I don't know, is this doctor just saying that they wrote a note to cover their own ass for the fact that, you know, maybe they didn't report it to the police? I don't know. It's very unclear what exactly happened to the note, which is very suspicious to me. But all we know is that the note was lost, and because of that, the police did no further investigations, and thus the case was closed. A little after this, Christine moved to Lakeland, Florida. I'm gonna take a drink. So yeah, a little after this, she moved to Lakeland, Florida, and she was watching a 4-year-old named Jeffrey, in which he simply stopped breathing in her care. When the autopsy was done on Jeffrey, it was found that he had myocarditis, which is a heart problem, but it's a heart problem that is rarely ever fatal. But because it was found that he had myocarditis in his autopsy, his death was pretty much chalked up to this heart problem. And there was like no further investigation of Christine. So, while their family was at the funeral for Jeffrey, like Jeffrey's family, while they attended his funeral, Christine babysat Jeffrey's 2-year-old cousin, Joseph, which, look y'all, I don't know why these people trusted her with another baby in their family. Like, hello. Like, I don't know. I guess because they're probably just thinking like their baby died due to a heart problem, but I don't know. That wouldn't stop him from breathing. Like, if anything, it would have been like a heart attack or something. But that's not what happened. They say he simply stopped breathing, which was weird. And personally, I would not trust her with another baby in my family. But for whatever reason, she just comes off as a very trusting person. And these people left another baby in her care. And this was Jeffrey's 2-year-old cousin named Joseph. And while they were at the funeral, Joseph died that afternoon in his crib while napping. Which is very tragic to imagine one day going to a funeral for the loss of one child in your family, and that same day another child in your family dies. Yeah, that had to be so rough for that family. The physicians wrote it off as a viral infection. Like, I don't know, it seemed like the kid had like a cold or something, but the physicians wrote it off as just a viral infection as the cause of death. And then they even further went on to be like, oh, well, that's probably what happened with Jeffrey also. Because they have 2 kids dying in rapid succession. They're like, yeah, it was probably just a viral infection. Okay, whatever. Moving on to July of 1981. Christine became a housekeeper to a 77-year-old man. Unfortunately, this man died in his kitchen on her first day at work. There was no real information about this man's autopsy that I could find, or his cause of death. We don't know if his death was similar to these previous deaths in which he stopped breathing, or if he passed away from old age. We don't know. We just know that she was supposed to be his housekeeper. Her first day, he's dead. That's all we know. So, moving on. Christine and her stepsister took her niece to the doctor's office for vaccines. At the time, her niece was about 8 months old. On the way home, her stepsister wanted to stop in the grocery store, but didn't want to, unload the baby and all of that. So she left Christine and her baby in the car while she ran to the grocery store, which, listen, you might be my stepsister and I love you or whatever, but why would she leave her with her baby? Like, she's seen what's happened with Christine and all of these other babies. Why would she leave her with her baby? I don't know. Like, I feel like Christine must have had, like, She must have been seriously like welcoming. I don't know why people trusted her so much after she had been in so many different incidents in which children died, but whatever. Her stepsister went to the store and left her with her 8-month-old baby. When she came back to the car, Christine stated that the baby simply stopped breathing. We've heard this before. Yeah, and they kind of just took her word for it, you know? Like, they didn't really further investigate what happened to the baby. And, you know, up until so far, Christine has just been considered a victim of circumstance, you know? She just so happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, where these children just so happened to pass away. That's what she has been banking on so far. Until July 2nd of 1982. 10-week-old Travis dies in Christina's care. An autopsy is performed on Travis, and it is found that he has internal ruptures caused by suffocation. So, yeah, Christina gets taken for questioning, and right away, she admits to killing 3 babies via suffocation. She stated that she would press a blanket over their face as a response to voices in her head stating, "Kill the baby." She says that she simply just did it like how she saw on TV. I don't know what show she was watching on TV where people are out here smothering babies, but yeah, that's what she said. She said she did it like how she saw on TV. She put the blanket over their faces and smothered them. Due to her confession, she was sentenced to life without parole for her first 25 years. So she has a life sentence, but she can't go up for parole for 25 years. So yeah, I don't know if she's out or not. I'm not sure. Let's look it up right now. I'm gonna look it up on my phone. But you guys, that story is like freaking crazy. Okay, so I have a couple different opinions about this story. For one, you guys, she's still in prison. She's 58 years old. She's still in prison. Was 25? She was sentenced in like 1982. Plus 25. Oh yeah. She went up for parole in 2007. That would have been her 25 years. But obviously she did not make it. This is a picture of her. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because clearly she had seriously, like when she was a kid. It is hard to say when she was a kid because at the time when she was doing these murders, she was still a kid, technically. She was underage. I think when she was sentenced to her time in prison, she was 17 years old. So clearly this is someone who has a prefrontal cortex that is not fully developed at all. And they're making these horrific decisions. But at the same time, this is someone who has killed so many kids and they deserve to be punished for the crimes that they have committed. But I always just think about how things could have been prevented. Maybe if she had someone who would have helped her seek mental health when she was a kid and she did things like strangle her cats or drop them or whatever, it would have never gotten to this point. Maybe if for the first one or two or whatever, that they could have investigated more and not just trusted her because she's had a sweet face or whatever. I don't know. For whatever reason that they decided to trust her so much. And then, like, I like how nowadays you have to have like a license to babysit. A lot of people have to have like a caregiver's license in order to babysit children. Obviously, there are still like 15, 16-year-olds who babysit the kids in the neighborhood or their parents' friends' kids, but I think there's more like laws and restrictions about babysitting now. There's more precautions in place because if she has something like a babysitting license, those deaths would show up on her license, and then maybe a newer parent would be reluctant to allow her to babysit their kid due to her prior infractions on her babysitting license. Who knows? This is a really sad case because she was just a kid herself, but she made these horrific decisions that caused the life of so many innocent children and cost her her own life. Like, she's in prison for the rest of her life due to this. And I wonder if she regrets it. You know? Like, I wonder if she, as an older woman, looks back and thinks like she just made crazy, immature decisions. Like, because when you're at that age, you don't think rationally. I know I didn't. I did crazy shit at that age. I didn't kill anybody. Like, I wasn't that far gone. But I think everyone does crazy shit in their teen years. I don't know. Do I feel bad for Christine? No. Yes and no. Like, I feel bad because she was young. And did she really know the decisions that she was making? But then at the same time, I don't feel bad for her because I would say at 16, 17 years old, I knew not to kill a baby, but I may have not been suffering with the same mental illnesses that she was. Like she said, she has these voices in her head that kept telling her, kill the baby, kill the baby. I think it's just unfortunate on both parts, you know. It's unfortunate for Christine, and it's very unfortunate for all of those parents who lost their children at such young ages. So yeah, that's the story for today. It's the story of Christine Falling, who is a serial killer. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. videos from your girl. Bye, y'all.